Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the League on Wheel podcast. My name is Andy Walker, and this week, my partner in crime, Tom Oates, is joining me. Tom, how are you feeling?
Not too bad, Andy. It's good to be back and finally on the first episode of this podcast for myself, so I'm looking forward to being back into it.
Good stuff. Well, you missed out big time last week, the response we had with Tom Halliwell, the legend, Wheelchair Rugby League.
Even myself, whilst I was in hospital, I've had many messages, congratulating us about that first episode, and it's just been non-stop up from there.
Absolutely. It has been a really busy couple of weeks since that first episode came out. We've had a fantastic response. All I will ask everybody is if you carry on liking and subscribing to us channels, please share them all as well. The more we can get the information out there as podcasts, the more focus we can give to Wheelchair Rugby League around the world, worldwide.
Yeah, so the more followers we get and the more shares we get, it helps us, and it also helps the wheelchair community, as a whole.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we go on forward and introduce you to today's guest, I would just like to say that this episode is brought to you with the help of Yorkshire Podcast Studios. They've been a massive help with getting League on Wheels. I don't know why we made it so hard to say it. It's been a massive help to
League on Wheels.
Getting League on Wheels podcast off the ground. And if you would like your company to get on board with us as well, a little bit of sponsorship, get in touch with us on any of the social media feeds or have a look for our email addresses on the podcasts. So, down to today's guests. A big one to follow, the England legend Tom Halliwell last week. Please welcome Bradford Bulls captain Richard Wright.
Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to be here. No pressure. Yeah.
No,
England captain.
No pressure at all.
Bradford Bulls captain. So there we go.
Well, how do you follow it? That's how they follow it.
Exactly how I do.
Bradford Bulls captain. That's exactly how we do it. So we'll start off the podcast like we intend on starting every one of them and have a little bit of a chat about the matches just gone at the weekend. And the big match at the weekend, Halifax Panthers versus London Roosters in the Challenge Cup final. Richard, you were there.
I was there, yeah. What a game. I mean, obviously I'm biased because my son plays for Halifax, but what a spectacular game to see live, to see on BBC. If ever you're promoting a sport, that's the game you want to see. Arguably, they're the best two teams in Super League this year, and they went at it.
They did go at it. Halifax Panthers coming out 46-24 on top. But the scoreline didn't really do justice to the game, didn't it? London were in there. I think Halifax maybe just a bit too clinical.
I think London were definitely in the game. I think what London did well, especially in the second half, was pull Halifax into their game. Halifax are very much set players, throw that ball around, pull you around the pitch. London very much in your face. And I think Halifax thought most of the second half were dragged into that, which allowed London to get there, keep their teeth in, and they had some teeth.
Personally, what did you think how the game would go before the game kicked off?
Obviously, I've had some insight into Halifax's training, so I know which way they're going and how confident they are with the players. Jack coming back on top of having Rob there. We've got 2 Golden Boot winners in the team. They're a team of internationals, so I expected it to be a lot more one-sided than it was. I've seen London play a fair bit, but when you've got a Coyd on the pitch and he's fired up, you can never count them out. And alongside Mason, they had a wow of a game between them too.
Yeah.
So
well, you could tell watching the game. I personally watched it on the TV myself, but you could tell how physical this game was, and at times it was very aggressive.
Yeah, I think it was aggressive, but I don't think it bubbled over. I think sometimes these games have had a tendency to bubble over in the past. There were a few little smirky moments, a few little winks to the referee, a few thrown tags at a ref at a disagreed decision. But that's what the sport's about. It showed that both teams cared. And yeah, last 10 minutes you could say Halifax had it tied up then, but London still kept going because they are playing Halifax again next weekend.
Yeah.
So they wanted to leave that game on a high so that they can go into the game against Halifax, because I think they didn't expect to be in that game as much as they were.
Yeah. Just going a little bit early, so we're going to have a look at the matches coming up at the end of the podcast, but you see a little bit of retribution maybe for London?
I do. At home, you can never count them out. They've got the crowd down there, and they're always noisy, the London lot, when you're down there. I was down there last year for it, and on the home turf, on your home pitch, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I think they've kind of implanted that impression, at the Challenge Cup at the weekend. So, and I think, and they'll go at them again, and I think they'll come back even stronger this time.
I think it has made Halifax sit up a little bit. I mean, Wayne will have them drilled this week. He will be going through what was right, what was wrong. I think overall he was pretty pleased because he's come away with a cup. But knowing Wayne, he's never 100% happy. So they will be getting pushed again this week just to see what's going on.
The perfect warm-up to the start of the Super League.
It is perfect warm-up for it. So
The other big match of the weekend, well, not really a match, but the England Futures match happened yesterday over in York. You were both involved in there as well a little bit. Again, with Nathaniel.
Again, I tend to be around a lot at the minute. Nat was lucky enough to be in the Futures last year. He was only 18. It was only his second season in Wheelchair Rugby League. Third season, and he was lucky to be called up again alongside Tom. He loves the experience. He's pushing for MPS this year. That's what his aim is. I think realistically the Australia tour's out for him, but he is 19. As I said to Tom earlier, he is one of the youngest players there. But he stepped up, but everybody stepped up. It was a good game to watch, scrappy at times, but that's when you're bringing players together that don't play together. It takes time to gel, and you've got 40, 50 minutes maybe for each player, and they're all trying to step up, and you could see they were all trying to step up. It was a fast game.
So that's one thing Nat has on his side is youth at the minute. He's definitely played for the future, didn't he?
He does. He loves the sport. He's played it 3 years. We had him at Bradford for 2/3 of a season before Wayne took him. So, and Rob took him under his wing, and he's blossomed from that. And now he's a fully Halifax entrench. We'd like to think if we went up, he'd come back, but it wouldn't do him any good coming back to us when you're playing with Golden Boot winners and Wayne and the Irish players that he's playing with. So we'll leave him to that. We'll watch the futures. Everybody did really, really well. I think Tom Coyde's got an hard job picking 8 out of that to go to the end.
There was a lot of standout players yesterday, but you could tell everyone in their chair yesterday just wanted that place. Like myself personally, I've not been playing the game long, and the step up to playing in a game like that yesterday it was such an experience, and it actually shocked me how much faster it was, but I've taken so much back from it. And I'm sure I can take it back to obviously a championship level, for Batley. So.
Yeah, it were good. Obviously from a Bradford point of view, we were disappointed because we weren't asked to put any players forward. We've got a couple of young lads, you played against them. Yeah. A couple of young 17, 18-year-old lads that we would have put forward and would have flown in that system. Yeah. Maybe next year for them, we've had a chat with them about it. Kieran, our coach, we think, he won't like me saying it, but he would definitely have flourished again. He did last year in the futures. Yeah. But we're building, so we'll sit there, we'll bide our time, and we'll push forward. So.
Very good. Just over to you with England's futures, Tom. You've only been playing, how long has it been? 8 months?
About 7 or 8 months,
months. And you had a brand new player into that England setup as well, but you were saying earlier just how welcome you made. And
I've had a lot of feedback, and I've had messages from some of the players yesterday and today, just saying how much just my personal effort that I put in yesterday, and just how much of a big jump it is for myself personally. We've only been playing for so little time. I'm brand new to the game. I'm brand new being in a chair. This is me coming from obviously playing at the field game. And then picking up my physical mobility issues. And then having to be playing in a chair. But it's just being in that chair yesterday. Was a massive insight for myself, and how different the sections of Wheelchair Rugby League are, how much of a jump they are.
It's all really good fun.
I think that's a fair assessment on the Championship and the Super League and jumps. So we've been building for 3 years, and where we are now from where we were last year, the year before, we're gradually stepping up. And then you step up to Super League. I've trained with Super League teams a couple of times, and the step just in training is a massive step up. And then the international, you think, can't be much more of a step up, but it is, because everybody brings the game and everybody's at it. And you think they're at it at Super League until you watch a game like yesterday, and you're like, I'm 45, I ain't ever getting there, so it's absolutely fine. I'll stick where I am.
We've touched already, obviously, your son Nat at Bradford Bulls. It's very much a family affair for the Wrights.
It is. Lucky enough, I have played in a game where I've played alongside Nat, and I played alongside Isabel. Isabel's 16. She's one of the few female players who I would say is a strong player in the Championship. She stands up against men 2-3 times her size. She's constantly misjudged as to what her game is and how people are going to deal with her. People try and smash her out of a chair. People assume she's slow because she's a girl. But that's what's the beauty of this sport. I can play alongside my daughter in a game of physical rugby and be fine and go, do what you want to do. Get smashed in your chair.
It's like it says, it's that personal experience that she's got, and I've played against her myself, and she's managed to wiggle around me plenty of times. So she's really experienced. She's just very, 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 very good with her skills, and it's
she's pushing her brother. If you talk to Kieran, our coach, he'd say she's already surpassed him in certain levels of her game. She's deceptively fast. She's got what I call a lolloping push. She pushes like she's not pushing, but next minute she's flying past you, and you're just like, okay. But she does it with a smile. If you've managed to see any of the pictures from the cast game, every picture she's in, she's got a grin. She's got a smile. She's getting tackled. She's got a smile. A big fella's coming at her. She's got a smile. And that's great to see. She did play the running game, fell out of love with that for whatever reason. Only came to the wheelchair game because Nat was getting a few plaudits, so she was a bit jealous, I think. We persuaded her into a chair, and she has not looked back. She was a little scared when she first started, picked up some injuries, had a finger rolled over a couple of times. But once she got confidence, we just left her to it.
And she's still young, and she's also on the England pathway.
She played for the juniors last year. She was a little bit gutted she didn't get picked for the women's because she was 15 and they wanted 16 and above. I think that there is a plan for another women's event this year, and she's hoping she's going to be in that. But after the Futures game, Lewis from Castleford came and spoke to her and asked why she wasn't there, which pepped her up no end. In reality, she'd probably been smashed off the park yesterday. She's not quite there yet, but she is putting the effort in behind the scenes. She's at the gym. She's picking up the game. She's watching the game. She's getting to know players. She's got a lovely fan at Sheffield of Chris. Her and Chris are like that at the minute. So we just leave her to it now. She's like me. She gets verbal diarrhea and talk to anybody. So I'll just leave her go.
I think her knowledge of the game is second to none as well. I've had some good chats as well with Isabel. And just, you could tell she loves the game. She's definitely, again, another player for the future at such a young age.
She is, and as I said, touched on earlier, we've got a few. We're building. So 3 years ago, Bradford struggled. They came off the back of a championship win, lost a few players. People like me turned up. 40-something-year-old overweight middle-aged guy just bringing his son along, and we played a season like that. With Kieran dropped. Everybody thinks we're winning this year because Kieran's dropped from Super League. Kieran was with us 2 years ago, and we were still struggling. So that shows you what he's done to us as a team. Last year we built without Kieran, so I had to learn a new role. I had to learn to be a leader in the team, which was hard. And then this year, Kieran has obviously dropped down from Super League with his view as to what he wants to do with Bradford, instilled that in all of us and brought all of us up to where he wants us to be. I'm pushing faster than I've ever had to push before, just to keep up with the 18 and 17-year-old lads that are flying around me for fun. And what's nice is that we are a good team. We're linked together. It's a friendly team. Everybody gets on. We've got issues. We air them. They're aired in the right way. And the team is very much linked together, which is what we want this year.
So what about, where do you personally see where Bradford is now and where it will be in the future?
The plan for Bradford, there's no ifs, no buts, no babies from Kieran. We want to be in Super League. That's where the aim is for Bradford. Feelers may need to put out as to when we do that and how we do that. We spent a lot of time, as you've seen, with our management structure in the background. So we've made sure we've got plenty of team, game day managers, physios, coaches. So I myself have done the coaching course. We brought Rob Hawkins on board to help coach our reserves. We call them reserves, but the Amber team. But we've already had players from that Amber team step up to championship level this season, who we didn't expect but have. Because of the training, we all train together. Everybody trains the same. And we involve everybody. And that's a big thing for our team, is everybody's involved.
Yeah. Did you have a bit of a time scale of when you'd like to see Super League?
Ideally, we'd do it next year. In hindsight, we would have applied at the end of last season, but we didn't know where we'd be. Last season was a hard season. We missed out on the playoffs on points difference, which was frustrating. Kieran dropping down, I don't think he was entirely sure where we would be as a team after our opening training sessions. But what became clear is that we were really, really strong. We had a lot of friendlies against teams that beat us in the past, and we beat them. So Widnes put quite a lot of points on us 2 seasons ago. We went to them, and we only played a half against them, but we comfortably put 40 points on them.
But that just shows, like, at the start of this championship season, how much of a bang you've actually started with, you know.
It is. I mean, it's not nice putting the points on the teams when you put the points on the teams, but that is where the league is at the minute. And as I said, we missed out on points difference, so we're making sure we're not doing that as well. But as we play that game, we are learning to play more with Kieran, who is a different player to what we're used to playing with. They're all used to playing with me. I'm not as fast as him. And I have a different way of playing the game, whereas Kieran will drag you with him. And if you're not going with him, you will hear about it on the pitch. So yeah, we first 3 games, obviously, yours was the hardest game we played. And I think we told you that after we'd finished. We put 80-odd points on you, but I don't think that was a fair reflection, especially in your first half, how that game went.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before. We've had a discussion, you know, about how that first half went. And there wasn't much in that first half. And I think a lot of it did come down to personal fitness, you know, as a team as a whole.
That's what Kieran brought with him from Super League. So our first 3 months of the year, we did nothing but fitness. I've spoken to you guys in your training drills. We did pushing, we did wall taps, we're doing stuff that just absolutely destroyed us. But now it's showing every game we played, our second half has been stronger. Because we're coming through with the fitness, so we can keep pushing. It wants us all to be able to push for 80 minutes. We're not all getting 80 minutes, but if we can push for that 80 minutes at max, then most teams are not going to live with that. So they might push us in the first half, but by the time we push through, that's game over. And then we got to the cast match.
How did you think that went?
Cast match was what we expected it to be. Arguably, we not sounding big-headed. It's us and Castleford in the Championship East this year, and we knew that would be. Cass's the new team on the block. They're a new team, but they're not a new team, is what we say. They're made up of experienced players from York, Wakefield, the experience of the basketball players they've got by teaming up with a Wakefield team. It's given them, I think, a jump on where people expected them to be. Usually it's a 2-3 year process. Cass have hit the ground running, so to speak. And we expected that game. We knew it was serious because the RFL sent 2 referees with radio mics, which we've never had before.
Oh, really?
We felt very privileged. And from the get-go, as soon as that game started, the intensity was another level. Our own errors let us down. I think we would argue that. Cass hit us quick in the first half. We tend to start slow and build. Cass hit us quick. We came back into it. And I think for most of the game, it was a 4 or 6 point game. Till the last 10 minutes. We brought some inexperienced players on. That wasn't to their detriment. We brought them in because they were ready. But unforced errors. I think that game would have been a little bit closer. Could have swung either way at that point. Referees complimented us on the speed of the game afterwards. Compared us to a Super League game. We'd say probably a lower Super League game. But it's nice to come away with that compliment. And both teams came off thinking that were a great game.
So it seemed very aggressive at times. I'd say there were a few questionable cards at times, maybe.
No, I think that's the sport. I think it did shock Cass. Kieran is a big hitter, but he's a fair hitter. He will hit you to the letter of the law. So some hits look massive and aggressive, but they were needed at the time. I myself put a couple of hits in just to make sure people are getting stopped. As long as you're doing it fairly and you're going for that tag, then there's no issues. I think Lewis did get pinged on one, but he had been hit quite a bit, so we'd give him that, and we didn't think that was a penalty when he got pinged. We were like, that's fair. It wasn't aggressive. There was some colourful language at times, but there was respect from both teams. I think there was a lot of talk from outside influences before the game about what's going on and who's doing what, but ultimately we respected each other, played the game as it should be played, and it was a 30 points to 15 scoreline, which I think reflects just how close we are as a team. Hopefully we'll go to theirs. That's two defeats to Castleford we're not happy with. So
I'll give you a lot to think about for the return trip then.
Well, their pitch is an unknown. Obviously, we've got a big pitch. You'll find out in a few weeks. Which can be a benefit to us. We tend to struggle on small pitches. So
I think if they're playing at Featherstone, that is a small pitch.
We played there before, but we've learned to adjust now. We are practicing on it. Historically, small pitches stifled us.
I think at Featherstone it is a lot narrower from when we played the first time at.
Narrow,
yes.
Right. A short dead ball line, very short.
Yeah, that's always interesting.
Making sure you get that ball down in such a small.
Oh, you've seen me smash into a wall at your place, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little bit there back on, you were mentioning training with your fitness. Something that just popped into my mind. Are you still working on fitness through the season? It was just that something Tom Halliwell said last week about how Leeds do theirs. The players are left to do their own fitness.
We build it into training. The biggest thing is obviously we've got a lot of kids as well, especially in our dev team. A lot of younger ones in London. We've got to keep their interest. So fitness is still part of it, but it's built into gameplay, or it's built in. So this week we're having a fun training week. We've had some intense training weeks. We're now having a fun training week, but fitness will be in there. So you'll be expected to push. You're expected to give it everything you've got. So we'll do sprints. We'll do stuff. So some of us go to the gym ourselves and train ourselves. So that's personal to them. But in Wheelchair, we are all encouraged to keep our fitness, and Kieran will push us to do our fitness while we're there as well. You just got to build it into training. So
but I suppose it's that that balance of also making it fun for the younger ones as well.
It is. I mean, our youngest player is JJ, is 6. He's got cerebral palsy. Castleford were nice enough in their reserve game to allow us to bring him on, and he got probably more time than Cass wanted, but he loved every bit of it. And I'll put some photos up later of his face when he's tagging players, and we're getting him to push. He came because he was struggling to push his own wheelchair. He's now pushing a sports wheelchair. He can do full length of pitch if you let him. But his parents love the fact that he's involved. He's never in the way because he's part of us.
Yeah.
And then we've got little Ellie, who you've seen plays with a smile on her face all the time. She's got her own issues, but we cope with them. We've got so many different people, and they're all part of our family. And as long as we train with them, we make them part of that family, and that's what we're about.
We had a similar experience like that at Sheffield game when we brought Paul on for the last 2 minutes. He really does struggle with his mobility, but he came on for the last 2 minutes, and the smile on his face just being on that pitch for the last 2 minutes was, you couldn't.
I think that's the biggest thing is making sure everybody's involved.
Yeah.
And it can be hard when you've got a plethora of players in your squad.
Yeah.
As you know, we try and make a reserve game and a main game at most games if we can do it, because that's how Super League want you to play it. So, and that's how we want to play it. So everybody's getting some game time. And we do have players that mix between the two teams. And if you're not training or you're not performing well, Kieran will drop you down to that. It's not a drop down, but he will say, you're playing in this team, so bring that team along. And so that everybody's happy. There's been seasons where people are not getting game time or people are not, and you've got to keep them interested, and it can be hard. So we're always open to friendlies. We're always open to just having a go. As you've seen, we'll come over to your place, even if we're not training, just to have a laugh. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. So, do you think is a little bit of a fine line at the minute where you are a competitive side and you want to be a competitive side, and letting those kids come along and develop? Where do you see?
Well, that's why we brought Rob on. So Rob's done his coaching course. Rob's taking control of the development of the players in the development team. The Amber squad is his squad alongside Sam, who's one of our other coaches. It's their job to bring them along. Kieran will keep an eye on it, and Rob will communicate. And then, as I said, Dan came on for 15 minutes against you guys. Never played a championship match before. Never played one. So that's
one of them things where you wouldn't have expected.
We just brought him on, and he did really, really well. And then he got 15 minutes against Gas. And it did really, really well. And then we said, and that's what we're about now is, right, well, we can bring them up. There's going to be players that will never play in the red team, but we'll love playing for the Amber team. Which, as long as we keep that love for the sport going, that's what we want. We want to be competitive, but at times we do split training. So especially before big games, we split training so we can work on moves, because some players are never going to get those moves, but the first team need to get those moves. So it's a fine balance. We've got an hour and a half training each week, which can make it difficult, but we've got a nice gap now. So we've got like 3 weeks before a game.
So there is.
Yeah, we've had a couple of weeks off till us.
That can be a good thing or a bad thing.
His next game's against Castleford, so it's 2 weeks of preparation and rest.
Preparation for ourselves.
Our last game against yourselves,
against us, and
that was last.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a break now, and then straight into Castleford this weekend.
Yeah.
It'll be a good game. Cass, they are a good team. There's no denying it. Lewis, his chair skills are amazing, and as soon as he gets more rugby knowledge, he's going to be next level player. He is already a brilliant player, but as soon as he learns the game, basketball skills,
it really does make me wonder sometimes how much he can move around in that chair. It's like yesterday, he was just snaking around that pitch, and it's unbelievable.
But they've got players all over the pitch. So they've got tall basketball players. We struggle with tall players because we've not got any tall players. They've got some aggressive players. They've got some vocal players. And instead they've built... I thought the hardest thing for Cass would be gelling those teams together. The York players, the Wakefield players, the basketball players, getting them to gel. But Ryan's done a really good job there of getting them all gelled together. The Challenge Trophy, they managed to win that at the first crack, which historically has always been Gravesend Trophy. And I think most teams wanted to go there this year and make sure it wasn't Gravesend's Trophy for whatever reason. And it wasn't. We were disappointed. Our aim was to win that trophy this year. But it's a 10-minute match. By the time we came into that game, we'd lost it 2-1.
Yeah. Up until that point, you had a really good run in the trophy.
Unbeaten, and we'd conceded 1 point.
1 point.
Up to that semi-final, 1 point, 1 drop goal. Funnily enough, from Gravesend, who didn't want to be nilled.
Yeah. We came close in scoring.
Oh, we did.
You did. You pushed us really, really close. And I played with flu most of that day.
I remember.
Because I infected most of your team.
I think the week after, we all struggled. We all remember, Richard. We will remember.
And after that Cass game, I could not move. And I just said to Kieran, I didn't have another game in me. Because I'd just given everything I had. And I was dying for the next 2 weeks after that.
Well, I think between Batley and Bradford that game, it was the only really game that was a close...
Hereford was the closest game we had.
Yeah.
Because Hereford was won 1-0 by us.
Yeah.
And Hereford are a strong team.
Yeah.
And we expect, and from a spectacle point of view, the people that talked to us about Hereford said the Hereford-Bradford game was the most intense game. The Batley game was an intense game, but you could see that you wanted to win him. We're like,
And it's not particularly easy on that floor, is it?
Oh, it's horrendous, and you had to play on it again yesterday.
No, it's horrendous.
I know we've got some reports from the sticky blue floor over.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain tricks. So before the Challenge Trophy, I changed my casters to narrow casters, which roll better. We all pumped our tyres up to like over PSI because it lifts you off the floor. The bigger players really struggle on it because you can't turn. You just can't turn on that floor because you just sink.
Joe, we actually had a bit of a laugh after that Challenge Trophy because everyone turned ill, and then we were actually blaming it on the floor or yourself.
Well, I did warn you when you came to shake my hand. I'm poorly, but you still came. So take what it is. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun day, but I didn't enjoy it 2 weeks later. So.
Struggled after that. The RFL seems to be liking that York arena at the minute.
I think they've got a partnership with them. I think historically it was Sheffield, and obviously they like going to Wigan, and they've done the basketball centre. Yeah. The York facilities are lovely. I mean, it's a nice big place, and that's what you want to do as a spectacle. It's a full length pitch. I know, Brad, we've got a big pitch, but it's minimal Super League length. It's big for most Championship teams, but that is a big pitch, and they can get people in. And it's not hard to get to. I know the more southerly teams and the more westerly teams, it's a long trek, but it is a nice place, and that's what we want for the spectacle of the sport. It needs to be in a nice arena, which is why the Challenge Cup's at Wigan. Because they can open it up. And
it was a massive shock for me yesterday of how much bigger that pitch is. I've never had the benefit of playing on that size pitch before, especially with the size of the pitches at the Championship level, and then going to that size pitch is a massive, it was huge.
It makes a difference to your game because you've got space you're not used to having.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
But then you go for that space, and as soon as you go for it, it's closed on you, and you're like, okay.
There was many times I struggled yesterday when I realised how much space there was, and I thought,
I could have gone there.
I could have gone there.
Yeah, we played on it last year before Future's game, and it was massive then. But that shows you where we were because York absolutely annihilated us in that game.
Yeah.
So that was last year?
Last year, yeah.
So you have come on. So
York have lost a few, because they lost a few players. They're where we were 3 years ago. They're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Dawn and Carl there are doing a sterling job of keeping that team together and pushing them forward. And Stuart's coaching. Stuart played for us last year, but he's coaching York, and he's a good egg. He's been around the sport for a long time. So they'll be thereabouts next year or so.
Yeah, I think they're definitely doing the right way. Like you say, I think Dawn and Carl are doing a really good job there. I think by the sound of it, it was quite a bit of a struggle losing all those players last time round to getting back to where they are now.
Yeah, I think there might have a bit of tension at some points with how it went about. Yeah. But I mean, it happens. Team players leave. We've lost them left, right, and centre. And it's just teams tend to go through these rebuild phases. For some reason with the sport, it seems to happen. Sheffield spent 3 years building to where they are. We're a year behind them, so that's where we're thinking. Our aim is get to the final this year.
Yeah,
that's the aim. It's not to win it; it's to get to the final.
Yeah,
give our best face and get to the final. York is to keep that team together and build. They've got some good young players with some experience, and as soon as that gels, they'll be there. Castleford had just come all guns blazing. Hopefully they've got all arranged in the back end as well, the management of the team and stuff, and they're going to be solid. I know they're in Super League as well. So, but that's ultimately what everybody wants, is a strong Super League with more than 5 teams playing.
Yeah, I think so. I think Championship is looking, can we say, exciting? Both sides, East and West.
I had this conversation with my wife last week about both sides of the competition. I would argue that the West is closer as a competition. There's got more teams that can push other teams at the minute. You've got North Wales, always strong, always a strong team. 2 seasons ago, they were putting 100 points on us when the Championship was one league. You've got Widnes, on their day can beat any of them. Hereford, who is a big step for them to come into that league because they're doing a lot of travelling. They are a strong team, full of internationals. Rochdale, little unknown. Rochdale, Paul is a big vocal at Rochdale. Paul Holt, he loves that team, and they can push anybody there. Salford are new, so they're at the point where they are new into this league, so they're going to do. So it is a closer league on that side. I'd like to see where it's going. I think the top 3 will be really, really close on that side. I think on our side, I think you guys will get stronger as the league goes. Your experience will build. So we're expecting it a harder game when you come to see us. Yeah. Because you'll have some games under your belt, and game time helps. Experience helps. So Wakefield are an unknown at the minute. We'll see what they bring to the table. I think they're And there's a rumour of a couple of Sheffield players from their reserves popping over. So
I think they may put some photographs out with.
yeah,
I've seen a couple of photographs of them with a few Sheffield players there.
Jack might have been. I think Jack has been training with them.
Yeah, I think young April's been training with
April.
same ages as well, but plays for Sheffield. So.
Yeah, I think we two played against us in Sheffield.
Yeah, she did. Yes,
but I think Wakefield come into the league July, isn't it?
Yeah, they're coming in a bit later just because they're in their full rebuild phase because they lost their team, everybody basically. Yeah. So we've moved all our fixtures. We play Wakefield back to back at the end of the season, just so that we could cater their games because we want the games to go ahead. We don't want games getting forfeit.
Yeah, no.
We don't want 24 nils recording in league because then what happens is they start looking at your league.
Yeah, they do seem to be doing really well in trying to rebuild themselves. You know,
they do. Yeah, and the communications we try and help where we can. I mean, court time's hard, as you guys know.
Yeah,
Sedgeburg where we play. We have to book it a year in advance for all our games. And there is no, because we share it with Halifax as well, there is no manoeuvrability. There may be odd days, so we overbook so that if we need to move, we may have a date. So, but getting that court time, and obviously we want that court time because we've invested in the pitch markings, we've invested in, but they've invested in us.
Yeah.
We just need Halifax to get their own home ground, really.
Kick him out. Get out of here. Yeah, obviously your mother-in-law as well.
Team manager, yeah. I think if you talk to Kieran, she's saved the team. She kept the team going. She's properly invested. She's properly passionate about it. She guards us purse strings really tightly. I tend to spend her money, which she doesn't like. But yeah, I mean, she's there. My wife's game day manager now. Yeah. We've got John, his wife's a game day manager. It's very much the families have got involved to keep that team going and keep pushing us all forward. It's just what we want.
Yeah.
Family affair.
I suppose it's all about having good management as well as, you know, the player base as well. You know,
we try to be open and build bridges. I think teams in the past, especially when the league was in its infancy across the board, there were a lot of protectionism around the teams. A lot of bridges got burnt. Like with you guys, as soon as you set up, I were in contact. I'm like, we'll pop over. Sharing knowledge. Kieran, as soon as we finish game, we're happy to speak to any of your players about what you needed to do in training or what would benefit you doing training.
Yeah.
Forging links with those teams so that you can get the friendlies lined up. You can go over and train with them if you need to. But getting links with all sorts of stuff, the maintenance of the chairs, people's knowledge. I've got a lot of knowledge because I've learned it from other people, pointing stuff to me. Right, this is how you do this. This is how you change this. This is how you tweak your chair. And it's all little tweaks that help everybody, helps the sport. If we're all together, when we're going to push this sport together, if we're all at each other, it don't help anybody.
It's just a big community as well, isn't it? Which I think that's one of the main...
Everybody knows everybody, so I lose track of people who are saying hello to me because people know me and I don't know them. I'm like, okay.
I think I felt it from really early on. As soon as we announced that with the Bradford Bulldogs we were going to launch the wheelchair, I think the first person I heard from was actually Tom Coyd, and a little email from there saying, really pleased that it's starting and good luck this and other. Martin got in touch, and then you were in there really early on as well when we first announced.
Yeah, I went to one of your early training sessions.
That's right.
They brought Isabel along for it, and Nat came along, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. Another family affair. Everybody was there.
Brought all three of us along, and
I think it might have been before you started that. I think.
Yeah, I think it was at the original venue.
It was. Yeah, we did a few drills with lads, and
I think some of those drills have carried on as well into the warm-ups. So the train is
the wheelchair train is always fun. Is a wheelchair.
I think I turned up a couple of weeks after that. I think.
Yeah, I do think it was a few weeks after that, but it was still for Fishers. No, it's something that is so appreciated, the community feel around Wheelchair Rugby League. I've been around community rugby league and I suppose around professional game for a little bit as well now, but it's just different.
It's different. I mean, I think the fact that it's expensive to play.
It is expensive.
Makes it different. So when I think your face lit up when I said, I might have 5 chairs you can have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to explain that a little bit, there was some RFL loan chairs that you had for a long while, wasn't it?
There were, yeah, and we weren't using them.
And you weren't using them, and we were sat in your container, and our numbers were building, and we were very short on chairs at this point. So I think it were 5 we took from you, or from the RFL through you. So that much appreciated as well. Now we've got quite a fleet of chairs at the minute. That's
probably got more than us. A lie, we bought quite a few last season. So. I've been known as the chair whisperer for a season.
We got 2 brand new ones last week as well.
Seen your pictures, yeah.
We got 2 new RGKs this week for a bit of funding from Green King.
Yeah, we saw. Getting the grants, getting the funding is always the difficult bit, especially when you say wheelchair rugby, because everybody also automatically goes murder ball.
Yeah.
Sorry, wheelchair rugby. But they automatically go murder ball. Yeah. No, it's not that. It's this. Well, you're an Olympic sport. No, we're not. Ours is properly rugby. That's handball. But we could get in an argument for the next 3 hours about what's rugby and what's not rugby.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, the chairs take a battering, don't they?
absolutely. Yeah.
We had those RFL chairs. They were used well, but we made sure we gave you them in tip-top, as good condition as we could give you those chairs, because I don't like to pass stuff on if it's not usable.
Yeah.
Then we linked with our foundation, so we managed to get some more chairs, so that all of our players now have designated chairs. I know a lot of clubs struggle with that, but all of our players from the amber team up to the red team have their own chair, which is their chair. But then with that becomes the need that they have to be mindful of their chair and its condition.
Yeah.
Drilling that into the young lads of check your casters, check your wheels, check this. Is that wheel bent? I don't know. Yeah, it is. Can be a job in itself, but as soon as you get people buying in, then it takes the weight off you doing everything, or two people doing everything.
Yeah, I've got to agree. We're getting to that point now where our players can start doing a little bit of maintenance, and they do. Some of them struggle. Some of them can't even change a tyre. Dan Winner.
I spoke to one of our players and I showed him how to change a tyre, and he asked, "What was that red thing outside?" It was the tyre.
It was the tyre.
It always seems to be the same people that are having issues with the tyres or popping.
Yeah, I'll mention another name now. James Clough has cost me an absolute fortune in tyres and inner tubes.
It tends to be because they've nicked them when they're rushing again. I mean, I can do that.
No.
But yeah, I mean, but stuff like inner tubes, nobody thinks, it's an inner tube. 7, 8, 9 quid an inner tube. And know where we're buying them from.
And buying a multiple of.
Yeah, so you're buying them because you get them cheaper. So we're finding cycle shops where you can get them for 4 quid. Oh yeah. And you're like, right, but you have to buy 20 of them. Like, I don't need 20. And that's when the team manager starts.
That's when Sue's
starts grimacing.
Yeah.
So we've just given her a shopping list for rest at season. So
she's not talking to you right now.
She's on holiday now.
Oh, you're putting us on holiday. Good thinking. Yeah. Going back on that, it is such an expensive sport. We're talking thousands of pounds a chair. It's not like turning up to a field one day with 13 lads and
some plastic.
Away you go. It don't happen, does it? How are you doing at the minute with sponsorship-wise?
This year we've managed to get, so my employer were quite generous this year and they've helped us with some sponsorship. We've got obviously player and chair sponsorship, which we try and keep at a level so that family and friends can do it, but it benefits the club. All of our players pay subs, monthly subs. Whether you're training or not, you pay your subs if you're out of the team, which helps. We found a welder. Can't tell you what a godsend that is to fix a chair. We've got titanium, aluminium and steel chairs.
Yeah.
And we approached double digits and welders who avoided it like the plague. And then we got a shirt sponsor this year, and he happened to know a welder who's taking it in his stride. He's repairing chairs for us, but then we promote his business, and he's got some business from Wink Simmons at Sheffield who wants a chair and some work doing.
I've seen a few of your posts with chairs being repaired at times.
Oh, he's taking my chair. He's going to be cutting mine down for me. But yeah, it's hard. It is hard, and getting it into people. It's all right to ask for money, but it's how you ask for money. So I think the foundation are helping us more this year. We're getting some grants because obviously the funding for Super League is the next level. It's what you're talking Championship 10, 15 grand a season.
Yeah.
Super League, you're talking double that, especially with the travel to Edinburgh and London and 2 teams to each game because that's what's expected in Super League. So it's always about our money. But that's where Sue, she does protect it.
Yeah.
So she always wants to have next season's money ready, even though you're in this season. Oh my God, just spend it. But then you've got, on the flip side, you've got players that will invest in themselves. So I own my own chair.
Yeah.
Isabel's bought her own chair. We buy our own wheels. But then the rule at the club is if you've got your own chair and your own wheels, you are responsible for maintenance. So the club don't contribute to that.
Yeah.
But not everybody's capable, and we want it to be an inclusive sport. So those that are not have got club chairs, and they use club chairs, and we maintain club chairs for them so that nobody feels like they can't come and play. So yeah, it's just always a struggle, but it's for every club, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody thinks I'm the tightest man in Batley, the way I go on really with our purse strings as well. So Batley's got a really small foundation, in all fairness, which is not a wealthy foundation at all. And we're doing all right at the minute on the wheelchair side, but we could always do with more help. Obviously, Bradford Bulls, the club, they've got high hopes of Super League. I think there's no surprise there that what they're doing at the minute. Are they well behind you?
This season, it feels like it. I think it helps that we're winning.
Yeah.
But this season, we've had a lot more, I'd say, interest from the club. So there's been a lot more promotion from the main club. They're sharing our results, they're sharing our fixtures, they're sharing our photos and videos. Whereas I think last couple of seasons, we kind of felt maybe they weren't, but they had their own issues to deal with the club. And we are, ultimately, we're run by the foundation, not by the club. They are entirely separate entities, but it's nice to have the club on board, and it's nice to feel that we're part of it. I know we don't play in the club shirts, but that was a decision made by the team that we want our own identity as well. So we've got our own. You've seen our shirts; we had them made, specifically for us for the sport, because over the last 2 seasons we've learned what works, what doesn't work with the shirts. And again, that's another learning curve. And I'll be brutally honest, we're cheaper.
Yeah. We're in a bit of a... We have a separate shirt to the Bulldogs first team shirt as well, but that's more to do with starting midway through the season last season when we started. We started getting us friendlies on, so we needed to get something that would cover his first season in Championship, and the back end we couldn't be affording going 2 lots of kit and everything there. But like you say, it's a bit of a learning curve on that. Make sure we're getting the right Velcro.
Well, that's what we had. I remember us having conversations about your Velcro. Now, one game in, that's coming off your shoulder.
Yeah, I think the Velcro for us is our biggest issue.
We had saying we learned, so we were buying shirts, sending them off to seamstresses to do, or people were taking them home and using glued Velcro with sewing on. Which, to be fair, I did that myself, and it's some of the best sewing. I have to obviously say that, and it hasn't come off since. But this year we had Wayne Boardman's wife-to-be design our shirts and sew our shirts to RFL specs. So they are top-notch shirts. I think she's done London's shirts this year as well.
Right.
So she was a good contact to get to do that, and we've done a lot of that. So we've got contacts for parts on wheelchairs because usually there's 2 big players. I won't name them, but there's 2 big players, and they're expensive. So you've got to learn where you can get your stuff from. Just pins or spindles, depending on where you're from, for your wheels.
Oh, I think I have a few emails with links to various suppliers. Oh, yeah. Found Richard. That's just very handy.
I share the information, which is why people know, because I'll just say, yeah, I've got this. This is where I got this from. This is where we got this from. Because why wouldn't you? It's not a competition of who can get it cheaper. It's well, if I can help them out, then why wouldn't we help them out?
Yeah.
So finding the manufacturer of the spindles and then managing to get a link so that he would provide those for us was a big step, because it halved the price for the team just to get replacement pins.
Yeah. So if anybody is looking for any wheelchair parts, we can find Wright, Bradford Bulls.
But I always look. There's a thriving second-hand market for chairs and wheels, and you just got to be quick.
Yeah.
Because everybody's after them. They all seem to be down south, though. Folkestone.
Everyone seems to be looking at that same particular chair on eBay that's been there for a while.
That big orange chair. I know Jamie was looking at that the other day, but he won't fit in it. He told me how wide he is, and I chuckled.
It looks like it's probably been made to a spec, that chair, don't it?
Yeah, that's a full height. It's a full height basketball chair. That's on 700C wheels, which is 27-inch. So that's for a 6-foot+ player. But it's been up for a while, as everybody keeps swarming around that chair.
Everybody's looking at it, don't they?
Happy days. Before we go on towards the end, we're going to have a little chat about some up and coming games that we have in the next week. The way we're going to do it, in fact, we'll just have we've already touched on this one: London versus Halifax. A bit of a replay. I know we've spoke a little bit about.
Yeah, my heart says Halifax are going to win it. I think it'll be close. It'll be aggressive, but I think when you look at the players Halifax have got across the field and their bench, they are a stronger team than London. And as long as Halifax take their game, then Halifax will come away with a win on that. London probably won't like me saying it, because they are a good team. But Halifax, when you've got Jack Brown and Rob there, you've got Wayne with his experience and the way he dictates play around the pitch. You've got Tom and Joe, both Ireland internationals. You've got Finn and Nat, who are both in the futures. You've got Jordan, who was in the futures, and Jordan, he's an underrated player. Jordan will surprise them on that pitch. He's a fast and he's a Riley player, and once he gets his game, I think Joe Coyd, always on his game, brings his aggression, brings his power. Mason will bring his and Lewis. They're their 3 pivotal players, I think, at London. But I think Halifax will just have too much. I think once Jack settles down a bit more, he's got his first game under his belt now for Halifax. Proper game under. I think he was like a deer in headlights. His absolute class shone, but he was everywhere. And I think once he settles a bit more, then that class will come out more.
Yeah, you were saying earlier on that you think they were probably the best 2 sides in Super League now. So backing Halifax on this first game, would you probably back Halifax for Super League?
I would. Just looking at the way the teams are set up this year, I think you'd be stupid to look past them. Just with where they're built, last 2 or 3 seasons, the way they're built, where Wayne has controlled that team, luckily enough to bring Jack in. They've got no Jeremy this year, they don't need him. You look at that team from 1 to to 9 or 10, then you're going, wow, they can bring somebody off, they can bring somebody on, and it doesn't change how they play.
We'll go through other Super League fixtures. I'll say the fixture, and then you're coming with me. Come back to me with your first thoughts straight away, and then we'll have a little chat. So, Edinburgh versus Leeds.
Leeds.
You just think the experience?
Edinburgh, Edinburgh are in Super League. I think most people would expect it'll be Edinburgh at Sheffield towards bottom at Super League. They're a good team, but they need time to build. So I think being in Super League is good for them. But I think Leeds will their class will shine through. It's a long journey up there, but I think they will just play their game, and Edinburgh will do the best. But
they're only a 2-year-old club.
They're a young club. They've got some good players. I think they took a good player from Warrington this year, and they had a couple of players previously that had played at Rochdale. So they've got experience, but they haven't got Super League or competitive experience. And I think that's what will castle.
Okay, I think that's fair to say. Wigan versus Sheffield.
Wigan.
I
think it'll be close, but I think it'll be Wigan.
Yeah. As it's quite exciting to see Sheffield coming up as well.
It is. Obviously, they put 70 points past us in both games last season, I think, because they were the standout team in the league last year. I think Super League, again, is a step for them, and they need that experience. But Wigan. It depends which Wigan turn up. I know they're going to miss Deck this season, but they are a good team and they're a drilled team. And I think that's what will ultimately see them through. It'll be a close one, I think. I think Sheffield will run them close. But
it might be an exciting game.
Should be a good game.
Going on to the Championship East. Big game. Cass versus Batley.
Cass versus Batley. Well, hopefully I'm going to be there to watch it. Cass. I can't say past Cass. I mean, you have got the ability to shut them down. Your pitch size will help. And all I would say is don't focus too much on Lewis.
It's at Castle, this one. Yeah, it's on a smaller pitch than what we're playing on. They're currently in second, equal points, game in hand.
Game in hand, yeah. I think points difference. We're just tipping it, so just make it hard for him, please.
Not so many points, please.
But yeah, as I said, we're looking at each game each week, and everybody's looking at the score lines that people are putting past, and we do 100 on Hull, they do 100 on Hull. We do 100, they do 100, and then everybody looked at when they went and just put 66 past, and we're like, what happened there? And then they came and beat us, and it's just how the league is at the minute, and you don't know which players are available, you don't know how it's going. But yeah, Cass,
it can just change week in, week out, and it's just
Cass were missing a couple of players when they played us. We planned around their team, and 2 of their players weren't there, but they were still able to get the win. So
yeah, I think this will be a good game. York versus Hull KR.
I think that'd be a really good game. 2, I think, evenly matched teams. Hull KR again. There's not a lot known about Hull KR because they've not really done a lot of friendlies pre-season. So they were an unknown when we went to see them. We didn't know what to expect, and they ran us close last season.
Yeah.
They've got some big guys, some big hitters.
I think they did surprise us when we played against them at their end. Like you said, they've got some big guys there, some big hitters.
York, they've got Stewart. With his gameplay, he can read the game really, really well. They've got Carl, who's just speed and anger.
Yeah,
that's the best way to describe Carl. He's the loveliest chap off the pitch. You put him in a wheelchair, and there's like a fuse that switches, and he just goes. You saw him at your friendly event when he came, and we had a friendly game. And I kept saying to him, "It's a friendly, mate. Just calm down." But he just loves it. He's so passionate about his sport and his team that comes out.
Oh, absolutely.
You wouldn't think he were a rest the way he acts sometimes on the pitch.
We had the pleasure of having him as referee at.
He had to step in, didn't he?
Yeah, step in at Bradford.
But then he's got Dawn alongside him who calms him down. They've taken Amy from Wakefield, and she's going to be a star at Future. She's a little superstar of a player. She's got power as soon as she gets confidence in game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I say York. We're for York on that one.
Like I say, I think it will be a good game. That one will be played at York. Championship West, North Wales versus Salford.
That's North Wales all the way, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so. No disrespect to Salford. It's great that they're there.
It's great that they're there. They're getting some better results than people are expecting. But yeah, North Wales all the way.
Yeah, North Wales currently sat in second. The Salford sat at the bottom, unfortunately, without a win. But it is a massive building area for them now, isn't it? Hereford Harriers versus Warrington Wolves.
Hereford,
they are at the top of the table.
They're top. Yeah, I think Warrington are due to be Super League next year, or have been touted as going up to Super League next year. But I think they haven't quite played the game that they want to play yet. Watched them in the Challenge Cup against Sheffield. They weren't particularly good in that. I think they've been building since then. They've got the makings of a good team. I think they just need to click.
Yeah. Widnes versus Rochdale.
I'm going to go Rochdale.
Rochdale.
Purely because of Paul. Paul will lead that team around the pitch. He plays with his son. Kieran plays. I think his wife or daughter plays with him as well. And his vocals will drag them through that game. I think they pushed North Wales close in their last fixture, closer than probably North Wales. I think from what I've read and heard, the only thing that let them down were a few conversions, and they did probably taking the win against that. So as I said, I think Rochdale. Yeah, I'll go for Rochdale.
And on to Regional South. Medway were due to play Gravesend, or Gravesend. Medway were due to travel to Gravesend, but it looks like they're unable to field a team.
Yeah, I've heard it's been postponed and it's been forfeited.
Has it forfeited? 24-0 win to Gravesend.
24 win. It would have been Gravesend. Gravesend with Grant Brothers, who are a strong team.
I think at the minute, that's Gravesend. Have they, on paper, they've won something like 6 games, but only played 2.
Yeah, they've only played 2 games. I think ultimately they've won the league because of the
just on 24
games, which nobody wants to see.
No,
I think that's probably part of why it's a Southern League and not part of the Championship this year, because Gravesend are the strong team down there.
They must be looking at moving.
You'd hope so. I think they were given the option this year and probably turned it down because I think they want to look at where they are and whether they can, because it's a long way for them to travel to. I know Hereford are doing it in the west, but to come to any of our teams, it's a long way, and it's a long way for our teams to go as well, especially when the funding's not there for it.
On Sunday the 22nd, we've got one match, Woodlands Warriors versus Brentwood Hills.
I think that's going to be a close one. The southern teams are all pretty close, Gravesend aside. I've seen Woodlands play a couple of times, so I'm going to go Woodlands.
Woodlands, yeah, they were at the Championship, Challenge Trophy.
Yeah.
Woodlands, it looks like they've got a nice little setup at Woodlands, and it sounds like they've got some good management there, so hopefully they're looking at maybe building.
It'd be nice, because I think last season we had 3 championships. We had the East, the West and the South. But I think there was a feeling that Gravesend were pretty much guaranteed to be in the playoffs or the final because they didn't have the competition down there, which was a little bit unfair on the rest of us who were competing. And if you're missing out on points difference, and then there's a team that's just getting through on postponed games and one-sided matches, you're like, okay. Not going to say we're all happy when Sheffield won it, but again, because it were a new name. Gravesend historically are a strong team and a good team, and sometimes you want to break that. It's like the old Manchester United. You just eventually somebody's going to beat them.
Break the hoodoo.
Yeah, and I think that's happened now. But hopefully Gravesend and some of the other southern teams come and join us again.
Develop. Good stuff. Well, Richard, thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, nice to see you both again.
Nice to see you too. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
we'll see you again at the weekend.
Yes, definitely.
Well, we'll get you roped into a little bit of refereeing, I think, by the sound
I'll
of
do
the
my
weekend.
best.
Thank you, everybody, again for joining us for this episode on League on Wheels. Keep an eye on the social media feeds for any up-and-coming news, and see you in a few weeks.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.